Okay, now we have day 3 of the saga. This is the third and final case of Steve Wiggins and his co-conspirator accused of shooting Sergeant Baker 6 times, setting fire to his body, according to court documents. Also, we're going to receive the verdict of what happens. Steve Wiggins, who wanted the death penalty, received life in jail. His co-conspirator received 15 years in jail. Let's see all of the details of this case. Let's get started.
2018 to today, May the 6th, 2022.
Right. Let's have Ms. Castro-Miles come to the podium, please. Castro-Miles, if you will raise your right hand and let us place you under oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your full name for the record, please.
Erika Castro-Miles.
Ms. Castro-Miles, you've heard what's been stated, that your lawyer and the state have reached an agreement to resolve this case by an agreed disposition, including a plea and a sentencing agreement. I want to make sure that you understand your rights. First of all, have you had an opportunity, I realize this case has been pending for some time, but have you had an opportunity to go over all of the facts of the case, the charge against you, and discuss it with your attorney, and you and Mr. Finley discuss both the pros and cons of this agreement and any possible defenses you might have to the charge against you?
I have.
Well, it's indicated that you want to enter a plea of guilty to this charge. Do you understand you have a right to plead not guilty and to have the trial go forward as we're in the middle of the trial right now?
I do.
Do you understand that you would have the right to trial by jury and to have an attorney to represent you at every stage and have one appointed, as I've done with Mr. Finley?
I do.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would be presumed to be innocent? If we continue with the trial as is, as you've heard me explain to the jury, that you would be presumed to be innocent until such time, if ever, the state proved your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt to the satisfaction of all 12 jurors, and their verdict would have to be unanimous before you could be convicted of any crime.
I do.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you and your lawyer could continue to confront and cross-examine all witnesses the state might call against you, and that you could bring in your own witnesses by the use of a subpoena?
I do.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would be presumed to be innocent? You've heard me explain that to the jury repeatedly. You would be presumed to be innocent. You would not have to testify or prove anything, and no inference of guilt would arise because you did not testify at your own trial.
I do.
Do you understand that if you went to continue with this trial and that you were found guilty of any crime and sentenced for that crime, you would have the right to appeal that judgment and the sentence imposed to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and the right to have a lawyer appointed to help you with that appeal?
I do.
Do you understand that by entering this plea of guilty, you're giving up your right to a trial and to an appeal, and all I'm going to do is to approve what your lawyer and the state have worked out?
I do.
You understand that's going to result in a conviction, and that conviction will be on your record in the future to make more severe the punishment you might receive if you were ever again convicted of a crime?
I do.
You understand everything I've explained to you?
I do.
Do you wish to plead guilty to the charge, to the amended charge of second-degree murder, according to this agreement?
I do.
You understand that if you plead guilty, the court of the state could ask you questions about this offense, and if you answer those questions under oath on the record and in the presence of your lawyer, your answers could later be used against you in a prosecution for perjury if it were to turn out that you were lying under oath.
I do.
Is your decision to plead guilty today voluntary?
Yes.
Anybody forcing you to do this?
No.
You understand that I can't accept your plea unless I'm satisfied that there are facts to support it and that you are in fact guilty of this charge?
I do.
And are you in fact guilty then of the charge of second-degree murder?
Yes.
General, the state has put on evidence in this case that, in my opinion, satisfies the requirement of facts to be submitted to the court to find that there is a factual basis for it, unless you have some additional evidence you wish to present.
No, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with your attorney's services?
I am.
You feel like Mr. Finley's done a good job of representing you competently?
He's done an amazing job.
All right. Mr. Finley, do you know of any reason she should not enter this plea?
No, sir, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
My understanding that this has been discussed with the family and that the family is in agreement with this disposition. Is that correct? That's correct. All right. Then Erika Castro-Miles on docket number 22 CC 2018 CR 267, upon your plea of guilty to the charge of second-degree murder I find that you are guilty of that offense. I sentence you to 15 years in the Tennessee Department of Corrections to be served at 100% release eligibility. And you are entitled to pre-sentence jail credit from May the 30th of 2018 until today. That is judgment of the court in this case. Thank you. Now, I'm going to bring the jury out and explain this, what has taken place in this case. And Ms. Castro-Miles may remain in the courtroom if she'd like, or she may leave if she'd like, whatever she'd like to do. Let's bring the jury in. We're ready for the jury anytime they're ready. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience this morning. Part of my job is to explain how the system works to people on a regular basis, and I want to make sure that you understand this. In this particular case, as you know, the defendant was charged with first-degree murder. The family of the victim, Sergeant Baker, has already been through one trial where Mr. Wiggins stood trial, and he was convicted of the first-degree murder and sentenced to death by the jury that had that trial. Family endured that trial. They also had to endure a federal court proceeding in which Mr. Wiggins was charged with first-degree murder in federal court. And after much consideration, the family in that case, with the federal U.S. Attorney's Office, agreed to settle that case for a life sentence plus 10 years for Mr. Wiggins. So they've been through this procedure before. What you have not yet seen was a body cam footage from Sergeant Baker's body cam that essentially showed the moments of his death. And it's a very excruciating and gruesome bit of footage that was going to have to be played for you. After much consideration and after the evidence that's been presented, the state, along with the consent of the family, after much deliberation with the Baker family, agreed to settle this case this morning by allowing Ms. Castro-Miles to enter a plea to second-degree murder, which is a lesser included offense of first-degree murder. And she has now entered a plea to second-degree murder, and I have sentenced her, according to the agreement they reached, to a sentence of 15 years in prison to be served at 100%, meaning that she will not be eligible for release early as often is the case. But they've agreed to do that so that the family can put this matter finally behind them and not have to go through any other things. It also eliminates the possibility of an appeal. When I've made rulings in this case on a regular basis and pretrial motions and other matters, that an appellate court could review and say, well, that judge did the wrong thing. And they could have, if you found her guilty of something, there was an appeal process that would be keeping the case pending. And as a result of that, it could result in the fact that the defendant, could get a new trial down the road, and there we go through this whole process again. In order to eliminate that and to conclude this matter once and for all, the state agreed, after consulting with the family at length, to this agreement. So the family is in agreement with it. The state's in agreement with the defendant, entered her plea, and now this case is concluded. That could not have been done without you all agreeing to serve. I know that it's somewhat frustrating for you that you've had to sit here and listen to all of this evidence and you don't get to render a decision. But the fact of the matter is that had you not been here, had you not been paying attention, had you not given your service to this trial, then it would not likely have reached this conclusion. So we thank you. I think the Baker family thanks you. I know that Mr. Finley, for the defendant, appreciates your cooperation. And I want you to understand how valuable your time has been to us, and that we could not have reached this resolution without you having to be here and to be served. So we are concluding this case, and you will now be released to return to your homes. Now, I have told you all along that you are not to discuss this case with anyone, but the case is over, and that is now, you are out from under those instructions. You can talk to anybody you want to about this case because you were not involved in the decision making. The state may want to talk to you about your impressions and what you thought the evidence. It's always instructive for lawyers to hear what jurors might have thought about the evidence in the case. So the district attorney's office may want to talk with you. Mr. Finley may want to speak with you. He was appointed to represent the defendant in this case and done an admirable job. But I would like, to tell you that you are free to talk to them if you want to. You're not required to talk to them if you want to. And it's if you're asked to speak with them and you just decide not to, then you don't have to explain anything. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to discuss it. But we're going to get you situated after a few minutes to return back to your lodging and pick up your things, and then we're going to take you home. Now, what I'd like to tell you is that you don't have to serve any more jurors, any more jury trials in Stewart County until 2 years from now. But we have 4 more days of jury trials in Stewart County that won't be sequestered. But we have another trial coming up in June that we're going to be trying in Stewart County that is another first-degree murder case. So we'll take a look at it, and if we have enough jurors, then we'll consider whether or not to allow you to not, at least on that other murder trial, you might not have to serve on it, but we have some daytime trials that we may need you on. So, all right, and thank you very much. And if you will step back across the hallway, it'll take a few minutes for us to figure that, get everything coordinated for your transport, and then I'll come talk to you in a second. Okay, thank you. All right, court having entered the disposition of this case and entered the sentence on the matter, this matter is concluded and the court will stand adjourned. No, we're done. Thank you.
Adjourn. Well,